Have you ever rediscovered an old memory that changed how you viewed your life? The dim amber glow of the concert hall's farthest corner bathed Anna in a halo of melancholy light. She sat rigid on a wooden chair, eyes fixed on the polished black grand piano center stage where her daughter's fingers danced, crafting melodies that filled the room with fragile beauty. The warm hum of the sea that lapped beyond the windows whispered faintly beneath the music, carrying with it memories as tender and turbulent as the waves themselves. A soft crackle of the microphone cut through the lull of applause that followed her daughter's final note. Anna's breath caught the low murmur of voices swelled into an uneasy silence, rippling like an unseen tide. Her gaze shifted toward the platform where her ex-husband stood, a sharp contrast to her quiet earth-toned simplicity. Beside him, a woman not much older than their daughter smiled brightly, her presence an affront etched in new beginnings. The crowd's eyes turned as he raised his hand, commanding attention with the ease of entitlement. "Friends and family," his voice rang clear, resonant with arrogance, "I am happy to share with you all that I am engaged to be married to Marianne. It's a new chapter, and we couldn't be more thrilled." The announcement landed in Anna's chest like an icy wave, each word piercing deeper than the last. The murmur of shock rippled among the guests, a cold current flowing through the warmth of the evening. Eyes darted to Anna, some sympathetic, many intrusive. Heat flushed her cheeks, an unbearable glow of humiliation searing across her skin. Her daughter's hands faltered on her lap, eyes wide and vulnerable, searching for unspoken reassurance. Anna forced a smile, fragile as a seashell against the relentless tide of exposure. Nearby, the soft clatter of a dropped program echoed sharply as Anna's fingers unconsciously loosened their grip. The world seemed to pause, the hushed breaths of onlookers a chorus of silent judgments. The scent of old wood and freshly polished brass mingled with the salty air slipping through a cracked window. "Excuse me," Anna whispered, rising on shaky legs, the wooden floor cool beneath her heels. Faces blurred into an indistinct fog, the honeyed light transformed into harsh spotlights of scrutiny. Her thoughts spiraled: shame, anger, the crushing weight of being unseen except as a symbol of what was lost. She passed the locked door of the backstage hallway, a threshold between public spectacle and private fracture. The faint strains of the sea waves seemed to beckon, both cruel and soothing. Outside, the evening sky bled fading hues of rose and violet, as if the world itself wore the bruises she felt inside. Anna inhaled deeply, the taste of salt and possibility swirling on her tongue. Her eyes steady now but shimmering with hidden depths caught the flutter of a lone gull soaring against the twilight canvas, wings outstretched as if to chart paths beyond the horizon. The moment held a quiet exhale in the tidal churn of her life, poised on the precipice between the sorrow of loss and the faint glimmer of redemption. She paused, the cadence of the waves syncing with the steady beat of her harder rhythm, both ancient and new. The scene closed on her silhouette framed by the waning light, a woman caught between past and future, shadows and hope, a story unfinished, waiting to be sung anew. The empty streets folded around Anna like a shroud of quiet melancholy, the salt air heavy with the fading echoes of the recital hall's applause and whispered betrayals. Her steps, slow and measured, betrayed the storm raging beneath her calm exterior. The amber light of gas lamps flickered uncertain shadows alongside her, mirroring the flickering hope dimmed by the weight of humiliation. By the time Anna reached her modest coastal home, a weathered cottage perched on the edge of the roaring seethed sky had surrendered to twilight, streaks of violet fading into the vast navy above. The rhythmic pounding of the waves against jagged rocks echoed the relentless pulse of her heart, each surge a reminder of memories best left untouched yet impossibly close. Inside, the scent of aged wood and weathered linen wrapped around her like a familiar embrace, contrasting with the raw ache in her chest. She moved almost mechanically, shedding her earth-toned jacket as if shedding the public facade worn so thin. The muted gold of the lamplight cast warm pools on the simple furniture, yet no warmth could pierce the hollow that the announcement had carved within. Anna's gaze landed on the family picture atop the mantel, her daughter's radiant smile captured forever in stillness. A ghost of a smile surfaced on her lips, fragile and fleeting, quickly receding as doubt crept in. Questions she could not vocalize began piling like driftwood at the shoreline of her thoughts. Was she enough? Could she face this world alone? Or was she destined to carry the weight of loss in silent surrender? Her fingers trembled as they traced the worn spine of a small book lying forgotten on the side table. It was an old songbook, once filled with melodies that had filled rooms with joy and promise. Now, its pages seemed brittle, much like the fragile hope she clung to. In the shadows, silence became a heavy companion, its weight pressing against every breath. She sank onto the creaking wooden chair by the window, the sea breeze cooling the flush of pain burning her cheeks. Outside, the waves whispered secrets to the moonlit shore, stories of loss, resilience, and change that had unfolded countless times before. A rare, bitter laugh escaped her lips, the sound trembling in the stillness. "Is this all there is?" she whispered, voice barely audible over the ocean's hymn. The room held its breath in solidarity, the flickering lamplight casting dancing silhouettes on the walls, companions to her solitude and silent testimony to the fight yet to come. A faint creak from the attic door caught her attention, a subtle invitation to a past she had long avoided but which now called her back with a promise of mystery and perhaps healing. The locked attic, cloaked in dust and shadow, stood as a sentinel guarding secrets and unspoken truths. With measured resolve, Anna rose, her silhouette framed against the window where the restless sea mirrored the turmoil within. She crossed to the narrow attic stairs, each step a tentative claim on courage. The camera lingered on the closed attic door, a threshold not only to forgotten memories but to a journey from despair toward redemption. It was here, in the quiet tension between past and present, that Anna's story began to twist, the next note in a song long unfinished. The air hung still, and as the dusk deepened outside, the scene pulsated, a fragile heartbeat of possibility, echoing the eternal dance of waves and sky, loss and hope intertwined. The attic door creaked as Anna pushed it open, the faint grit of dust filling the air like memories long neglected yet refusing to fade. The narrow staircase groaned beneath her tentative steps, and the faint scent of old cedar and forgotten promises wrapped around her like a fragile shawl. Evening light seeped in through the lone window, casting amber hues across the worn planks and the scattered relics of a life once vibrant. Her fingers traced the faded edges of crates piled high along the walls, remnants of music sheets, faded photographs, and loose notes that fluttered gently with the breath of sea-salted air. The locked chest in the corner beckoned, its iron clasp worn but still steadfast, a symbol of the emotions and truths she had fastened away, too vulnerable to face. Anna's eyes settled on a weathered book, its faded cover barely legible beneath years of forgotten dust, a songbook. With a breath caught between fear and longing, she pulled it from the shadows, watching as a plume of dust danced in golden rays like drifting embers of a past life. Opening the book, she found her initials intertwined with another's, scrawled tender, lithe, delicate script winding like the tendrils of a melody only lovers could share. The notes within, handwritten and slightly smudged, revealed a love song she barely remembered, a poignant echo of a chapter thought closed. Her pulse quickened as the weight of the songbook sank in. Here lay the tangible residue of a love unspoken but never forgotten. The sea's distant roar filtered through the open window, a timeless soundtrack to her swirling thoughts. The waves crashed relentlessly, mirroring the tumult inside each surge, a call to remember, to heal, to reclaim. A single rose petal, pressed between the pages, fragile and faded, whispered of innocence lost and hope rekindled. Anna's gaze lingered as the petal shivered in the slight breeze, a symbol of the beauty and fragility entwined in memory. She pressed the petal to her lips, a silent vow floating amidst the shadows of the attic's dim light. The pain that had weighed heavy softened, melting into a wellspring of determination and quiet strength. The songbook was more than a relic. It was a bridge between who she was and who she could be. As she closed the book, a soft melody stirred somewhere beneath the floorboards, the faint strains of an old song rising like a whisper from the depths, the music of her past reaching out across the years. Her eyes glistened, reflecting the flickering hope ignited within, a spark ready to light her path. The attic exhaled a breath of possibilities, and Anna stepped back, the door gently closing behind her, sealing the secrets but not the promise. Outside, the sea winds swept through the town, carrying her whispered vow into the horizon. The frame paused, Anna silhouetted against the twilight window, a woman transformed, standing on the threshold of love lost and life reclaimed. The waves rolled steadily, timeless and certain, as her journey toward healing and hope quietly began. The coastal breeze sneaked quietly through the half-open attic window, carrying the distant sound of restless waves crashing against the rugged shoreline. Dust particles floated lazily in the slanting late afternoon light, weaving golden threads through the hazy air. Sitting amidst stacks of forgotten books, old photographs, and childhood trinkets, Anna gently opened the faded songbook she had discovered just days before. The worn pages crackled softly, as if awakening from a long slumber. Her fingers trembled slightly as they traced the delicate, looping script overlaying the music score, a love song, handwritten with care and a tenderness that pierced the dull ache in her chest. The initials embossed on the cover merged hers with another's, a silent testament to a bond that had never truly severed. Outside the window, seagulls wheeled gracefully in the clear sky, their cries mingling with the rhythmic hush of the sea, a lullaby both soothing and demanding of attention. The waves summoned memories she had buried deep, memories that fluttered just beneath the surface of her daily struggles and hidden fears. Turning to a page where delicate notes danced in faded ink, Anna began to hum the melody, her voice soft but resolute. The sound was tentative at first, a fragile bridge between past and present, but grew stronger, weaving through the cluttered space with a quiet urgency. The music wrapped around her like a warm cloak, rekindling forgotten warmth in the cold corridors of her heart. A sudden sharp knock at the attic door startled her, the intrusion slicing through the reverie like a jagged edge. She swallowed her song, heart pounding not from fear, but from the sudden realization that change, even gentle and painful, was inevitable. Anna rose, the old wooden floor creaking beneath her weight, and moved to unlock the door. Beyond it lay the familiar face of her daughter, eyes wide with silent concern, yet something deeper shimmered beneath a flicker of hope, a tentative invitation to bridge the distance that recent days had widened. "Mom." Her daughter's voice was barely a whisper, fragile and full of unspoken questions. Anna met her gaze, the songbook still clutched to her chest like a lifeline. "I'm finding my way back," she said simply, the truth resonating in the quiet firmness of her tone. Outside, the sea whispered its eternal promising reminder that every tide receded only to return again, bringing with it the chance for renewal and healing. The attic, bathed in the fading light, felt less like a place of forgotten shadows and more like a sanctuary where courage was quietly taking root. Closing the door gently behind her daughter, Anna exhaled a breath long held, eyes soaring toward the horizon, visible through the window, a space vast and open, waiting to be filled with the music of a life reclaimed. The camera lingered on the songbook, resting on the attic floor, pages fluttering softly in the breeze as if breathing, alive with stories yet to be sung. The fragile melody hummed faintly in the background, carrying the delicate thread of hope weaving through the tapestry of memory and new beginnings. As the sun dipped lower, casting amber hues across the room, Anna's silhouette framed against the window stood steady, a quiet sentinel embracing the fragile dawn of transformation, poised to step forward into the unknown. The muted hum of the sea was a constant presence outside the attic's solitary window, its eternal cadence a stark contrast to the storm surging within Anna. The old songbook, once a relic of forgotten melodies, had become a Pandora's box of raw emotions, memories unspooling with every delicate page she turned. Handwritten notes slipped from the folds of yellowed paper, their ink blurred by time but their meaning sharp and piercing. Her fingers trembled as she read words once sacred, lyrics filled with longing and promises that had been buried beneath years of silence and regret. The song was incomplete, a beautiful fragment suspended between past and present, urging her toward a destiny yet unclaimed. Each line rekindled embers long thought extinguished, lighting a flicker of fervor in her heart even as shadows clung tighter. But the fragile light flickered under the weight of her reality. The phone's insistent chime cut through her reverie, dragging Anna back to the present's stark coldness. Her daughter's voice on the other end was hesitant, edged with concern. "Mom, can we talk? You never come to dinner anymore." The silence that followed was a chasm, heavy with all the fractures time and distance had forged. Anna's voice was low, threaded with guilt and an aching need to bridge the widening gap. "I'm trying, darling. Just trying to find myself again." Outside, the coastal wind rattled the house's ancient bones, an ominous prelude to storms, both literal and emotional tempests gathering on the horizon of her fractured life. The weight of secrecy pressed down, pressing on the brittle lines of her relationships, threatening to fracture what little stability remained. The camera cut to a slow-motion shot of Anna's hand hovering over the locked attic door, her hesitation a silent battle between vulnerability and fear. Behind that door lay more than echoes. It held truths that could shatter or save. Later, as twilight bled into night, Anna met her best friend at a worn cafe perched near the cliffs. The warmth of the interior clashed with the chill in her bones as she shared fragments of the songbook's secrets. Her friend's eyes were wide with a mix of awe and caution. "Anna, are you sure dredging up this past is wise? It could undo you." A bitter laugh escaped her lips, bitter and raw. "Maybe undoing is what I need. Or maybe it's the only way to unearth the life I thought I lost." The night thickened around them, rain beginning to patter against the stained glass with urgent insistence. Anna's mind swirled with the haunting melody she had uncovered, a tune that invited both solace and confrontation. The waves' restless chorus outside matched the beating of her restless heart, the desire to heal entangled with the dread of what the healing might demand. Her choices now bore heavier weight, each step forward fraught with risk, the possibility of losing not just her present happiness but the fragile hope blooming amid the shards of her past. A close-up of the songbook's pages fluttering revealed a folded letter, its seal cracked but its contents unread. The scene closed on Anna's conflicted equal parts fear and fierce resolve as thunder rolled beyond the sea. The songbook lay open on the wooden floor, the attic shadows pulsing with secrets waiting to redefine her path. Amid the gathering storm, a single candle flickered in the sealed attic, symbolic of fragile hope wavering not yet extinguished, setting the stage for a journey that would challenge the very core of her being. The late afternoon light filtered lazily through the attic window, dust motes weaving golden threads around Anna as she sat cross-legged on the worn wooden floor. Her fingers trembled slightly as she unfolded the fragile, yellowed letter she'd just discovered tucked deep within the pages of the ancient songbook. The paper crackled quietly, an intimate whisper of a past long buried beneath layers of silence and sorrow. The room around her seemed to hold its breath. Outside, the sea swelled against the rocky shore, its ceaseless rhythm both soothing and relentless, a sound that had once been a lullaby and now felt more like an urgent call. Anna's eyes traced the elegant script, each word weighted with emotion. The letter spoke of love not extinguished by time, of promises made beneath the stars and during stolen moments. But it also spoke of sacrifice, of choices forced by circumstance and fear. A sudden crack of thunder rumbled through the sky, the first prod of an approaching storm. The shadows in the attic deepened, wrapping around Anna like a cloak woven from past regrets. Her heart pounded an aching symphony of hope and loss. She closed the letter with trembling hands and pressed it to her chest, as if trying to hold the fragile truth close to her beating heart. The rose petal she'd found earlier fluttered from the songbook's pages, drifting gently to the floor like a silent tear. Tears pricked at her eyes. The pain of the revelation settled like a tide, pulling her under but also cleansing. This was no mere memory, it was a crossroads, a reckoning that would reshape the course of her journey. In that stillness, Anna understood the duality of love's power to heal and to haunt, to bind and to free. The songbook was no longer a relic. It was a map guiding her toward redemption and renewal. Her gaze lifted, meeting the endless horizon where sea met sky in a blur of endless blue. The storm outside began in earnest, rain pattering against the window panes like the heartbeat of a world awakening to truth. With a steady breath, Anna rose, the weight of the past folding behind her like a silken cloak. The door to the attic stood open, a gateway not just to memories, but to the future she was now ready to face. As the camera lingered on the open letter resting beside the old songbook, the distant sound of a familiar melody began to weave through the rain, a haunting tune that revived a glimmer of hope and kindled the restless fires of longing. The scene faded softly, a gentle prelude to the awakening that would soon reshape Anna's life, poised on the precipice of rediscovery and transformation. The relentless gray sky pressed down over the small coastal town, the weight of its clouds a viscous shroud squeezing the last flickers of light from Anna's world. The relentless patter of rain against the window panes echoed the turmoil inside her, each drop a puncture to the fragile shield she'd built around her heart. The attic room, once a sanctuary of whispered hope and rediscovered memories, now felt like a cold cell, its shadows stretching and morphing into haunting specters. Anna sat curled on the wooden floor, the dusty songbook open and forgotten beside her, its pages fluttering aimlessly as the windows rattled. The initials, once a poignant symbol of untarnished love intertwined, felt now like cruel reminders of what was slipping beyond her grasp. Her breath came ragged, chest tight, as a silent scream threatened to break free but was smothered beneath the suffocating leaden weight of despair. Outside, the wind howled fiercely, sending the sea waves crashing violently against jagged rocks, their fury a mirror to the storm thrashing within her psyche. The scent of salt and rain mingled in the air, a raw, elemental perfume that seemed to mock the fragility of human longing. Her phone vibrated softly, the screen illuminating a message from her daughter, words too brief, too distant, hinting at the widening chasm between them. Anna's fingers trembled as she swiped away the notification, her eyes clouded with tears she stubbornly refused to surrender to. Memory and reality collided like jagged cliffs, past love and present loss mingling in a tempest of regret and yearning. She rose unsteadily, her silhouette a wavering flame against the dim glow of a lone lamp. The locked attic door loomed oppressively, a barrier not just of wood but of the emotions she feared to confront. The echo of old melodies, a forgotten lullaby, a haunting refrain seemed to call from the other side, urging her forward even as her spirit recoiled. In the silence that followed, Anna stood alone, the room closing in like the sea at high tide. The warmth she'd begun to find in the relics of love now seemed like a distant shore slipping beneath the horizon, unreachable and fading. Her whispered voice trembled through the shadows. "Where do I go from here?" No answer came but the relentless patter of rain mingling with the distant, mournful cry of a gull, a sound both desolate and hauntingly beautiful. The camera lingered on Anna's still figure, framed by the trembling light, as the scene faded into a cavernous darkness, a poignant embodiment of loss, isolation, and the fragile unraveling of hope. The twilight sky over the coastal town had faded into a bruised indigo, and the cold seeped through the thin walls of Anna's home, matching the ice settling deep within her chest. The house creaked and groaned, as if mourning with her beneath the fierce gusts that rattled window panes and howled around the corners. Shadows stretched far beyond the edges of lamplight, swallowing the familiar rooms in a suffocating embrace. Anna sat curled at the foot of the attic's narrow stairs, the wooden planks worn smooth beneath her trembling fingertips. The old songbook from earlier lay open on the floor nearby, its pages splayed and fluttering weakly in the faintest breath of stale air like ghostly wings. Her gaze was distant, unfocused, fixed on nothing but haunting memories that echoed relentlessly through the hollow spaces of her mind. Her breath came slow and shallow in the stillness, each exhale a fragile mist that vanished almost as soon as it formed. The pinpoint silence pressed heavily, broken only by the occasional drip of water from an unseen leak and the endless, roaring pulse of the sea far below, a relentless reminder of life's ceaseless ebb and flow, indifferent to the turmoil within. A single, faded rose petal lay crumpled on the floor, its delicate edges curled and torn, a fragile relic caught between decay and remembrance. Anna's eyes fell upon it, reflecting shattered hopes and innocence lost, the perfect emblem of her own fractured soul. Her voice broke the stillness in a fragile whisper, barely more than a breath. "Why?" No answer came from the shadows. Her heart pulsed against the cold emptiness, an ache of being unseen and unheard, threatening to drown her in its depth. In the narrowing circle of lamplight, Anna's silhouette slumped further, her strength dissolving like salt mist in the crashing waves outside. The weight of isolation tightened its grip, the loss of connection with her daughter, the crumbling foundations of her present life, and the ghosts of a love that remained painfully out of reach. The room seemed to close in, the attic's shadows closing like a cage, its wooden beams creaking softly as if whispering of times past and the secrets they kept. The sea wind moaned through cracked window frames, a low, haunting chant that entwined with the ache of her heart. Her fingers grazed the fragile pages of the songbook once more, seeking solace but finding only fading ink and the haunting absence of a voice that once filled her world with melody. The notes, once vibrant and living, lay silent, a mournful testament to the distance between past and present. With a heavy, resigned breath, Anna lowered her head, the weight of despair settling like ocean depths pressing in from all sides. She was poised at the edge, too weary to fight, too engulfed to rise, caught in the devastating stillness where hope seemed a distant shore too far to reach. As the room faded into darkness, save for the faint glow of moonlight spilling cold across the worn floorboards, Anna's breath stilled, and the world held a breath alongside her. The shattered rose petal on the floor caught the silver light, fragile and alone, embodying the profound emptiness that swallowed the moment whole. And in that profound silence where the echo of the waves met the stillness of her soul, the scene closed, suspended in a haunting pause, a moment of quiet surrender to the unyielding night. The night deepened beyond the fragile walls of Anna's home, the sea's persistent chant weaving through the darkness like a forgotten lullaby. The attic, cloaked in shadow and silence, exhaled a breath heavy with memories shrouded in dust and forgotten hopes. Anna sat alone on the creaking wooden floor, the old songbook closed but still nestled close against her heart, a fragile keepsake from a past that had both haunted and sustained her. Outside, the sky was a velvet canvas, embroidered with scattered stars shimmering faintly through clouds pressed low by the night wind. A distant melody, faint but unmistakably familiar, drifted up from the depths of her memory, a single, trembling note played long ago on a piano now silent. It curled around her, a tentative thread weaving through cold and shadow. Anna's eyes, rimmed with weariness and haunted regret, softened as the sound wrapped her in its embrace. The loneliness that had pressed relentlessly against her chest loosened, if only by the smallest margin, as the notes stirred an awakening long deferred. A spark, fragile, quivering, etched itself in the dark like the glow of a lighthouse far away but unyielding. Her fingers, trembling yet purposeful, reached out and caressed the delicate rose petal she had found pressed between the pages of the songbook days ago. Its faded crimson was a vivid contrast against the muted tones of the attic floor. The petal, brittle yet resilient, became a symbol of love lost but not erased, of innocence faded but not forgotten, and of beauty persisting even in decay. The gentle rustle of the page as she slowly turned the songbook's cover was a whisper against the cold silence, a gesture that signaled awakening. Her breath caught. Within the folds of paper lay a letterold, fragile, its words blurred but imbued with enduring faith. It was a message from a time when love still blossomed freely, a secret testament to a past that refused to be silenced. Without fully understanding why, Anna unfolded the letter and traced the soft strokes of the ink, feeling the weight of its promises anchoring her amidst the swirling tides of doubt. The words skated across her mind like the tender strains of a forgotten sonnet, a melody reborn through awakening. She lifted her gaze to the window, beyond which the sea reflected the timid light of dawn. The waves whispered of endless beginnings and endings intertwined, a rhythmic promise that everything lost could be found again in unexpected ways. A single tear traced its way down her cheek as Anna rose, the songbook clasped firmly in her hand. In that quiet moment, the sum of her pain and hope converged into a slender thread of resolve, a fragile but undeniable beacon guiding her through the darkness. The attic door, once a barrier, stood ajar, its silence beckoning her forward. With a breath steadying her steps, Anna crossed the threshold, her silhouette bathed in the coming light, a silent vow to follow where the music led, to seek what had never truly been lost. The scene held a portrait of fragile renewal, a breath held between heartbreak and healing, poised on the edge of transformation, an invitation to journey still unfolding beneath the eternal dance of sea and sky. The early morning light poured through the modest window of Anna's living room, casting a soft glow that felt like a whisper of renewal. The house, once echoing with silence and shadows of regret, now hums with a tentative sense of rebirth. Anna stands at the center of the room, her silhouette framed by the shifting daylight, a faint smile touching her lips in acknowledgement of the quiet strength stirring within. Before her, on the worn wooden table, lies the old, dust-covered songbook she discovered in the attic, a relic of a love long past but not erased. Its pages, fragile and yellowed, seem to breathe in the gentle morning air, whispering promises of hope and redemption. Her fingers, once trembling with doubt, now trace the familiar ink, feeling the heartbeat of memories anew. A faint melody, the same one she last played in her dreams, begins to drift up from her memory, softly at first, then rising in clarity and resolve. It's a fragile, imperfect sound, yet it carries the weight of her awakening, a delicate bridge connecting her past despair to a fragile hope for the future. Outside, the sea's rhythm echoes the heartbeat of her introspections, the waves rolling endlessly, reshaping worn shores and renewing the earth beneath her feet. The sky blushes with pastel hues, the promise of dawn, symbolic of a life slowly reclaiming its color, its voice. Anna's gaze lingers on the horizon, where the sea kisses the sky in a muted embrace. Her eyes, tinged with sadness but shimmering with determination, reflect the dawning realization: change is possible. The storm that once roared in her heart begins to recede, replaced by a quiet, persistent will to mend what was broken. In a decisive act of renewal, she opens the window wider, allowing the fresh breeze to sweep through, carrying the scent of salt and possibility. The leaves outside whisper in agreement, the winds of transformation are stirring. Her hands gently close the songbook, the fragile weight in her palms a symbol of the journey ahead. She takes a slow, deep breath, feeling the cool, invigorating air seep into her lungs, a stark contrast to the suffocating darkness of her earlier doubts. As her form dissolves into the soft glow of morning, the scene shifts focus to the distant shoreline. Endless waves, unbroken and persistent, promising that the tide of hope can turn even the most battered dreams into a new dawn. The camera pulls back gradually, capturing her silhouette against the awakening sky, an emblem of resilience poised at the cusp of rebirth. The ocean's roar and the subtle hum of new beginnings merge into a cinematic symphony, a silent promise that healing begins with a single step, an act of faith, fragile but unfaltering. The town square was bathed in the golden hue of late afternoon, the air tinged with the salt of the sea and the promise of renewal. Anna had taken the stage, her silhouette framed against the setting sun, carrying the small, worn guitar she'd found in the attic days ago. Its surface bore the scratches of age, but her grip was steady, her heart pounding with a quiet resolve. The gathered crowd, initially uncertain, hushed as she strummed the first tentative chords of her rediscovered song. The melody, once long buried beneath layers of doubt and sorrow, unfurled slowly, slow enough for every listener to feel its fragile truth, yet powerful enough to stir the very stones beneath her feet. Her voice emerged in a grainy whisper at first, trembling with raw emotion. "Love is a journey," she sang, each word a trembling step into her own vulnerability and strength. The notes wove through the air, a tapestry of pain, hope, and the unyielding resilience that only time and truth could forge. The sea's distant roar blended with her voice, a convergence of nature's eternity and human perseverance. Some in the crowd hesitated, eyes glistening, unsure if this was a moment of victory or delicate surrender, acknowledging that true victory often begins in fragile moments of honesty. Anna, eyes closed, let the music carry her beyond the barriers she had erected, beyond fears of rejection, beyond societal expectations, beyond her own insecurities. Her heart opened, the pain transforming into a luminous resolve. The melody swelled, filling the space with an unspoken message. She was reclaiming her voice, her love, her life. A gust of wind swept through the square, carrying a whisper of distant waves, an old melody, as a reminder that her song was intertwined with the timeless rhythm of the sea. Her fingers rested on the final chords, lingering with a sense of awe and quiet victory. The silence that followed was thick with emotion, uncertain yet hopeful. The crowd responded with a cautious, heartfelt applause. Faces softened, some tears shimmering, as they recognized the courage it took to bare one's soul on such a public stage. Anna's eyes returned to the horizon, where the last light danced on the water, an emblem of hope flickering against an uncertain future. In that suspended moment, her silhouette against the glowing sky embodied a fragile but undeniable truth. Transformation begins when you embrace your deepest love, no matter how long it has been buried. The scene drew back in hushed reverence, capturing the dawn of a renewed life, fragile, potent, and forever intertwined with the melody of her heart. The air shimmered with a profound stillness as Anna stepped onto the makeshift stage under the warm glow of string lights, her silhouette poised against a sky painted with streaks of sunset gold and indigo. Her guitar, the same battered relic from her attic, was cradled like a fragile treasure, carrying the weight of centuries of unspoken love and unbroken hope. The crowd hushed, anticipation woven into every restless breath, as she strummed the first delicate chords of her song. The melody spilled out, hesitant at first, a quiet whisper of reverence for a love once lost but never forgotten. Her voice, vulnerable yet resolute, wove through the evening air, touching the very core of those who listened. Every note was a step on her journey, a testament to her resilience and to the unyielding power of love's sacred memory. The sea's distant roar synchronized with her breath, a timeless echo that reminded her that she was part of something infinitely larger. Her eyes closed briefly, tasting the bitter sweetness of her longing, the ache of absence, the promise of reunion. The melody deepened, emboldened by the strength she now carried, a melody reawakened in her soul like a phoenix rising from ashes. Her voice softened, revealing the trembling core of her spirit, an unspoken declaration that no storm could drown her, no shadow could obscure her light. The song swelling within her was not just a reflection of past love but an affirmation of her worth, the courage to embrace vulnerability and to stand unafraid. The crowd responded, a ripple of admiration washing over their faces as the music washed away years of doubt and pain. Faces softened, eyes glistened, and hearts stirred, recognizing that she was speaking a universal language of redemption and hope. The waves behind her seemed to shimmer in concordance, their rhythmic dance a silent tribute to the resilience of the human heart. Anna's fingers lingered on the final notes, breathless and trembling, yet fiercely alive. The silence that followed was thick with emotion and acknowledgement that transformation had begun, an invitation for each soul to listen more closely to their own quiet truths. As she lowered her guitar, her gaze lifted to the horizon where the fading sun touched the edge of the sea, a symbol of endless beginnings. The scene held a portrait of victory not achieved through perfect notes or grand gestures, but through the unshakable courage to open one's heart again. A gentle applause rose, hesitant at first, then swelling in heartfelt recognition and unspoken blessing for her rebirth. Anna's smile emerged, tentative but radiant, a quiet victory blushing shyly amidst the gathering dusk. She stood there, poised at the brink of an uncharted chapter, embodying the profound truth that love's enduring melody remains eternal on echo within, waiting to be shared with the world. The early morning light spilled gently over the small coastal town, casting a warm, amber glow that seemed to breathe new life into the scene. Anna stood by the edge of her porch, the ocean stretching endlessly behind her, its waves whispering secrets of renewal and hope. The air was crisp, carrying with it the faint scent of salt and pine, a natural symphony that echoed the rhythm of her awakening heart. In her hands, she cradled the old songbook, its worn cover and fragile pages like a relic of her past, now reborn through the journey she had forged. The notes, once faded and silent, glimmered softly in the dawnlight, echoing memories of love lost and found, of melodies that had once filled her with joy and longing. Her gaze lingered on the horizon where sky and sea kissed in a muted embrace, a symbol of life's endless possibilities. A gentle breeze stirred her auburn hair, framing her face with a serenity that hadn't been there before, in unspoken recognition of her resilience, her wounds healed, and her soul awakening. With a slow, deliberate breath, Anna closed her eyes for a moment, listening to the subtle swell of the ocean, the distant call of seagulls, and the quiet melody humming in her heart. The storm of grief and doubt that once threatened to drown her had begun to ebb, replaced by a fragile but persistent wave of acceptance. Her fingers brushed the spine of the songbook, feeling the engraved initials, the mark of a love that had never truly faded, only transformed. The simple act of holding it was a testament to her courage to confront her past, to forgive herself, and to embrace the possibility of a future shaped by the strength she found within. As the first rays of the sun pierced the horizon, casting the sky in hues of gold and lavender, Anna's lips curved into a soft, knowing smile. It was a smile born of quiet Victoria realization that her journey of redemption, love, and self-discovery was only beginning. The sea continued its timeless dance, resilient and eternal, a mirror to her own rebirth. The scene paused on her silhouette against the awakening dawn, a woman finally at peace, standing rooted in hope and ready to step into the music of her life anew. The gentle fade of light left a lingering sense of calm, a promise that the past and present could coexist, and that the melody of her heart would always find its way home. Soft morning light seeped through the windows of Anna's living room, casting warm hues on the worn wooden floors and treasured relics of her journey. She stood silent, facing the sun-dappled reflection in the mirror, a woman transformed, her auburn hair gently framing her face, eyes alight with acceptance. Her hands rested on her heart, feeling the steady rhythm of newfound peace. Memories flitted like fragile butterflies, some painful, some tender, all woven into her becoming. Across the room, the old songbook lay open on the table, its pages now marked with new notes, truths written in her own hand, a testament to resilience and love rediscovered. The familiar melody from her past whispered softly in her mind, each note a thread stitching together the torn edges of her spirit. Every experience, every forgiveness, was a note in her symphony of healing. Her daughter entered quietly, eyes filled with quiet wonder, as if seeing her mother's soul in full bloom for the first time. They exchanged a tender glance, wordless yet profound, in acknowledgement of the journey's culmination and the peace that had finally settled within. In that moment, Anna softly began to sing, a simple, heartfelt rendition of the love song that had once seemed lost forever. The melody grew gentle, rising and falling like the tides, embracing a timeless song binding past and present. Her voice, rich with emotion and vulnerability, wove through the air, lifting both their spirits. Tears shimmered in her daughter's eyes as she moved closer, resting her head on Anna's shoulder, feeling the embrace of a mother's love that had endured all storms. Outside, the waves continued their ceaseless dance, constant and eternal, a mirror to her soul's rebirth. The horizon blushed with the dawn of a new era, where fears and sadness faded into the promise of hope and new beginnings. The scene lingered on the two figures silhouetted against the glowing sky, a testament to the transformative power of love, once forgotten but now reborn. As Anna's voice faded into the gentle hush of morning, she knew her journey was complete. In this sacred moment, she found her voice, her love, her peace and unbreakable harmony that would resonate forever in the echoes of her song and the infinite sea beyond. The cinematic tableau settled into serenity, a silent tribute to a life redeemed and a future rewritten with the melodies of hope and forgiveness. The sun dipped low over the horizon, spilling a tapestry of amber and lavender across the serene coastline. Anna stood atop the gentle hill behind her house, the sea whispering timeless lullabies beneath the silent sky. Her silhouette was quiet, yet radiated an unspoken serenity, a woman who had traversed the tumult of loss and emerged with a softened gaze and a heart unburdened. In her hands, she cupped the delicate, weathered sheet of music, her soul's testament woven into every note. The words she had sung countless times before, now whispered in the air like a sacred prayer, each melody a prayer of forgiveness, hope, and renewal. The wind caught her voice, and it drifted softly, blending with the gentle rhythmic pulse of incoming waves, an eternal dance of renewal and peace. The scene was luminous in its subtle grace. Anna, arms open as if embracing the very essence of life's cycles, her face reflecting the dawn of understanding. The pastit's pain, its love, its loss lay peacefully behind her, transformed into the melody of acceptance and grace. The old songbook, resting at her feet, now gleamed in the waning light, a symbol of journeys completed and new beginnings embraced. Her eyes fluttered closed briefly, a faint, knowing smile lingering on her lips, the kind that whispers of the soul's quiet victory. The scene lingered, still, vast, and filled with the unspoken truth that forgiveness and love are the melodies that echo forever in the universe's timeless refrain. The camera pulled back slowly, capturing her serene figure against the expansive ocean. The waves continued their gentle serenade, endless, unbreakable, a mirror to her newly restored spirit. In that silent, luminous moment, the story unfolded into a sacred silency, a promise that love, once rediscovered, forever rewires the heart's hidden song, transforming pain into harmony, despair into hope, sorrow into peace. Have you ever discovered something that changed your past?